Hello there, Macarp here, as usual. A few days ago, I came across this post while moderating Pagans and Witches Amino. There was nothing about it that went against our guidelines, but it was a little more than misinformed nonetheless. It went on about a number of quote-unquote pagan laws that treated paganism as if it was one whole religion. Not to mention, these so-called commandments were broken by a number of pagan beliefs and paths, including mine. It would have been okay if these rules were for the individual and they created themselves to follow, but from the way they put it, they weren't. They believed these rules had to be followed by all pagan belief systems, and this is clearly not true. Despite that, I felt it would be a good opportunity to create a video on it, so I talked with a few of the other moderators about it. They decided it would be fine if I did, so here we are. Keep in mind that, while I'm going to be using direct quotes from the original poster, I won't be stating their username or anything that could point to who they are. In fact, I won't even be including screenshots. I'm using this to create a learning opportunity and not some petty drama. If you happen to know who I'm talking about, don't go and attack them. Anyway, without further ado, I want to get into the most important part of this video. Before I go into the actual post and dissect it, I want to address that paganism is not a religion. Now, that might sound a bit aggressive and clickbaity, and that's because it is. Paganism itself is not a religion, but an umbrella term referring to a large group of non-Abrahamic religions. Now, I've mentioned this on my channel before, but it's a very important thing to know. The term paganism is just that, a term. There's no way to practice just paganism because it isn't a religion that exists. However, it does refer to a group of religions that aren't mainstream, are reconstructed, or aren't commonly practiced in the modern day. It's a lot like the word Abrahamic. It's a word that refers to the monotheistic religions that sprouted from Abraham, a biblical patriarch. These are Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. That being said, you can't practice Abrahamism. You can, however, practice an Abrahamic religion. Islam is a religion that is considered Abrahamic, and you can practice that. That is, if you were a Muslim, or someone who practices Islam. You wouldn't respond to the question, what religion do you practice, with, I practice Abrahamism. Instead, you'd probably say, I practice Islam, or I am a Muslim. Paganism is the same way. You could practice a pagan religion. For example, you could practice Norse paganism, or you can practice Wicca. However, when a Wiccan is asked about what they practice, they'll probably say, I practice Wicca, or I am a Wiccan. Now, paganism is a bit different here, due to how pagans act in general. Since the population of people who practice a pagan religion is fairly small compared to other belief systems, it's actually common to see a pagan refer to themselves as simply pagan. It's just easier on the tongue, really. However, if they wanted to describe their religion in depth, they wouldn't say pagan. They'd probably say something that closer defines what their practice is, such as saying they practice Norse paganism. The defining point here is that the word paganism refers to all pagan religions, and using just the word pagan usually acts as an adjective to say you practice a pagan religion. It doesn't refer directly to any one religion and acts as an umbrella term. This is why you can't place laws or commandments on all pagan religions. Because paganism refers to a whole jumble of different beliefs and practices, a lot of them tend to butt heads. Typically, this isn't in serious ways that completely go against one another. However, it does mean that there are many restrictions that some pagan religions have that others don't. A good example of this is to take Wicca and Old Greek paganism and put them side by side. Wicca is typically a very nature-loving religion and essentially outlaws the sacrifice of animals. Usually, if one wants to show their devotion to a deity, they just pray, perform rituals, etc. Not much personal loss, if any, is done to honor the goddess and god. Then we can look at Old Greek paganism, or if you want to be fancy like me, Hellenic paganism. When it was practiced in its prime in ancient Greece, animal sacrifice wasn't an unheard of practice. Though it wasn't often done, and usually it was only during serious, solemn religious festivals and sacred days, it still existed. In fact, some modern pagans from a number of beliefs, not just Greek, practice animal sacrifice. It's important to note that this is done in a humane way, and that the animal parts that are not sacrificed to a deity are often used as food for the practitioners involved in the ritual. This goes for both in the modern day and in the past. These aspects of the beliefs are quite opposite of one another, yet both are seen as paganism. It's because of these types of things, of which there are many more, that prevent there being overarching commandments for all pagans. It just won't work out. Pagan religions are all too diverse and unique to allow it to happen. Now that my rant is over, I'm going to get onto the actual post I found and name off some of these quote-unquote commandments and debunk the ones that couldn't exist or are otherwise misinformed. The first one stated, "Thou shalt always say, think, or do whatever you truly desire, so long as it harms no one, including yourself." This might work for Wiccans and for some Satanists, but for most other systems of belief, no. First of all, if I followed this, I'd be breaking all the other rules by doing what I truly desire, which would likely break the other laws described in a good few minutes. It'd be that, or I'd follow all the other laws, and thus disobey this one. I don't mean to be rude, but this is just a little contradictory. It's a catch-22, because either way you're breaking at least one of the other laws. Second, I want to point out that most pagan belief systems don't have rules concerning harming others. I could go into serious depth with this, but to cut it down, most pagan religions that have written rules don't even mention harming others. Heck, some actually condone it if things go too far. If I may quote from the Church of Satan, a group of Levian Satanists, which is considered a form of paganism by most, their 11th satanic rule of the earth states, "When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him." That might not mean to destroy them physically, but still, the term destroy usually implies harm when applied to a human being. The second of these laws states, "Thou shalt live according to the laws of nature, not against them. Coordinate sleep, food, physical exertion, and work with the ways of nature." Now, lots of pagan belief systems are fairly closely tied with nature. It makes sense that they are. However, an equal number aren't. As well, most, if not all, pagan beliefs don't require you to coordinate your sleep, how you eat, and how you work out to practice. Sorry, but I'm not changing my long-gone sleep cycle and my non-existent workout schedule for my religion. It is important to me and all, but when it starts making me work out, nah. I get how the original poster might have felt the nature-loving part has existed in all pagan beliefs, but I don't know where the part about coordinating your sleep and food for your religion came from. The next one states, "Thou shalt not destroy nature, not take from her without restoring that which was taken." Now, don't get me wrong, I am all for supporting the environment. But again, not all pagan belief systems worship nature. The environment is important to everyone, and it's important to protect it, but as humans we can't restore everything that we take. The computer used to write, script, record, edit, and post this video is made out of silicate materials that mankind simply can't put back into the earth. The same goes for the phone that the original poster likely used to make this post. We can try our best to keep the environment stable and not damage it more than it already has been since the Industrial Revolution. That being said, there's only so much we can do, and we can't put everything back. Plants, water, pollution, and the atmosphere, we can definitely help, but lots of other things we can't. The fourth was pretty much the same as the second and third, so I'm going to skip it and move on to the fifth, which said, "Thou shalt worship in the way you please, and let others do likewise, even though you may not understand their ways." Now, I half agree with this one. Honestly, tolerance and acceptance are just general life skills and are keys to a happy life. However, you can't always worship in the way you please. Some religions are closed off to certain cultural groups or require initiation to practice, and they need to be respected. I don't want to get into closed cultures in this video, because the topic deserves a video of its own, but telling people to practice whatever they want is dangerous and might lead to the invasion of closed religions. The next statement relates to forbidding animal sacrifice, which I already covered earlier in the wicked Greek example. The seventh is worth noting, however, stating, "Thou shalt not cage another living being." So first of all, lots of pagans own indoor-only animals, including myself and most of the P&W staff. Then there's an argument regarding zoos, which are important for educating the public about nature and giving many people jobs. Besides, many animals live much better lives in homes where they are fed by humans. A really good example of this is Felis catus, the house cat, which actually domesticated itself because of easy access to food. Humans didn't try to domesticate cats first. They showed up and did it themselves. I could also get into the argument of prisoners, who are living things too and are often arrested, tried, and caged in prison. Sometimes this is for the betterment of society. For example, serial killers and rapists, and the like. However, because I try to avoid political stuff on my channel, I'm gonna leave it there. The next one states, "Thou shalt be free to love whomever thou please, so long as thy primary obligation to the home, family, and community are not neglected." This is one of the few I'm actually fairly on board with. Love whoever the heck you want, people. Granted, the obligation to home, family, and community is a little questionable, depending on the situation you were raised in and what the actual community stands for. Otherwise, though, this is a pretty good rule. Doesn't really relate to paganism, but still. Now, we come across one that reads, "Thou shalt express thyself through arts and crafts, music, dancing, singing, and poetry, for in doing so, thou shalt be in rhythm with nature." So, first of all, this isn't related to paganism, and it's kind of odd. I'm a composer and pianist myself, and I consider myself an artist. It's something I would completely support people doing, because art is very releasing and fun overall. However, I don't think it's something that should become forced in order to follow a pagan belief. Oh, and again, with that nature thing, mentioned it already. The post goes on to describe a few commandments relating to accepting spiritual communications, developing psychic prowess, stuff like that. Personally, I don't agree with this one. I've met lots of pagans who don't communicate or work with spiritual intelligences or beings, or to be quick about it, spirits. Further, not all pagans are interested in working with psychic things, or even believe in them. If it tells you anything, I'm a chaot and have been for a few years now, and I've never been interested in doing things relating to being psychic. My artist for these videos, Oraa, is not a pagan or witch, but has practiced seeing auras in the past. Finally, the post states in its last law, "Thou shalt not forget that the spirit within and the spirit without are the only true God." I'm going to be honest, this seems like a real belief push on others. Putting that there's only one true God on a post that's about pagan commandments, and is already pretty misinformed about the fact that paganism is a group of religions and not one religion it's just not looking good. At first, I didn't know what it meant, so I went to my good old friend Google and did my research. The most I could find was a page for an odd counselor named Ellen Tadd, a book based on the Christian concept of the Holy Spirit, and other concepts relating to Catholicism. Considering the rest of the post's tone, I feel like it was just a really weird line. It might not have been based on Christianity, despite what came up in my research. The last of these laws sounds extremely Abrahamic, and the whole post uses "thou shalt" in the beginning of every sentence. It isn't really surprising that Google pulled up stuff about Christianity. Even so, it's quite a pushy law, and is something that simply cannot be followed by pagan religions, minus the few monotheistic ones like Zoroastrianism, which aren't very active in the whole pagan community in the first place. Most pagan religions are polytheistic, animist, or otherwise don't have a concept of one true God. They might have head deities of their pantheon, but they aren't the only deity that is worshipped. Whatever the spirit within and the spirit without is referring to, I can say with pretty much absolute certainty that it is not a concept the majority of pagan religions will be able to mesh with. At the very, very end of the post, it states that paganism is a way of life. I'm sorry, but it isn't. Some may view it that way, and that's okay, but not all do. Again, because of the diversity and uniqueness of pagan belief systems, there's no way to put this blanket of pagan commandments over it and expect all belief systems to be able to follow them. Hopefully, this just demonstrates further that paganism is not a religion itself, but a group of different religious systems that are all individual and unique in their own rights. Though some are similar, none are exactly the same as another. It's actually a beautiful thing. Even though pagan religions are so diverse and sometimes disagree with one another's beliefs, they can all get along fairly nicely. They all understand the difficulties of following such a minority religion in a world dominated by Abrahamic ones, some of which being more disrespectful and unaccepting than others. Everyone either understands the struggles of being in the broom closet or is in it themselves. It gives me hope for humanity, being able to see a group of people full of different religions and beliefs be able to respect one another. I hope it does to you, too. And even if one was able to add commandments or universal laws to all pagan religions, it isn't something that should be sought for just that reason. The beauty of the pagan community sits in its diversity. Why would we want to take that away? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Wishing you a beautiful morning, evening, and night wherever you are. This has been Macabre. Till next time. Hey, thanks for watching until the end. Before I go, I want to give some credit where it's due. This video and my entire channel would not have been possible without my amazing artist and even greater friend, Oraa. Check out her Twitch below. If you like my content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks for watching!